In 1949, Japan built its first racing motorcycle, just a humble copycat, or so Europe thought. Within a generation, Japanese machines were not just winning, they were rewriting the rules of global competition, forcing the rest of the world to catch up or fall behind. But what exactly did it take for these motorcycles to dominate? And how did a local obsession turn into an engineering arms race that changed racing forever? The answer begins on a forgotten Japanese racecourse, long before the world knew what was coming. In 1913, a crowd gathered at the Hanshin Horse Racecourse in Osaka, not for a horse race, but for something new: motorcycles roaring down the straightaway. These early races turned repurposed horse tracks into makeshift circuits, with riders navigating dirt, grass, and whatever obstacles the old courses could throw at them. By 1915, attention shifted to Tokyo's Meguro horse race course, where the field was filled with imported Harley-Davidsons, Indians, and British single-cylinder machines. Japanese-built machines were rare, and local riders often relied on whatever they could piece together from spare parts and ingenuity. Through the 1920s and the 1930s, motorcycle racing remained a patchwork affair. Venues changed, rules were loose, and machines ranged from hand-me-downs to home-built specials. The Second World War put a halt to organized racing, but the hunger for speed never faded. When peace returned, so did competition. In 1949, just outside Tokyo, Tamagawa Speedway hosted Japan's first post-war motorcycle race. The entry list swelled to nearly 100, with bikes cobbled together from pre-war frames, Army surplus, and even American servicemen's Harley-Davidsons and BSA motorcycles. For many, these early races were less about trophies and more about testing what was possible. Riders doubled as mechanics, tuning engines in the paddock and making last-minute fixes with borrowed tools. Each event was a chance to experiment, to push a little harder, and to see whose ideas would hold up under the flag. Racing quickly became more than a pastime. It was an open-air laboratory, a proving ground for both riders and the machines they built. This spirit of competition and relentless tinkering would soon catch the attention of Japan's emerging motorcycle makers, setting the stage for a new era of factory-backed innovation. In the summer of 1955, a new kind of race unfolded on the slopes of Mount Asama. Unlike the city circuits and horse tracks of years past, this was a raw, volcanic ash course, thick with grit, lined by jagged stones and brutal on every moving part. The surface chewed through tires and sandblasted engines, testing not just speed, but survival. For the first time, Japan's manufacturers, Honda, Yamaha, Suzuki, and others, arrived as organized teams, each determined to outlast the others in what quickly became a technical arms race. Mechanics and engineers swarmed around their bikes between heats, inspecting chains for wear, swapping out scorched spark plugs, and improvising shields against the relentless dust. The Asama race wasn't just a contest of riders, it became a laboratory for the factories themselves. Every lap revealed a new weakness: gearboxes jammed with ash, brakes that faded under the heat, frames that flexed under the pounding. Instead of shying away, the teams treated each failure as a data point. Engineers scribbled notes, mechanics devised quick fixes, and by the next year, new alloys and reinforced components appeared. The punishment of Asama's terrain forced a pace of innovation no test bench could match. Word of the rivalry spread, and soon, the Asama event drew hundreds of entries and national attention. The Japan Small Automobile Manufacturers Association championed the motto, "If there is no competition, there will be no technological progress." With each running, the bikes grew faster, tougher, and more sophisticated. The factories realized that victory here meant more than a trophy. It meant proof their machines could endure the worst, and that their engineers could outthink the competition. Asama transformed local racing from a tinker's pastime into a proving ground for Japan's rising industry, setting the stage for the leap onto the world stage. A single lap on the Honda RC166 was a test of nerve, skill, and mechanical trust. The engine's scream reached nearly 18,000 revolutions per minute, 6 pistons, the size of chess pieces firing in perfect time. Mike Halewood, already a legend, took this impossibly complex machine and made it look effortless. His left foot danced through a 7-speed gearbox, shifting with uncanny precision to keep the engine in its razor-thin power band. The RC1X6 was unforgiving. Fall below the revs and power vanished, miss a shift, and the field swept past. Yet in Halewood's hands, every corner exit was a slingshot. The bike's top-end rush leaving rivals searching for answers. The heart of the RC1X6 was its 250 cubic centimeter inline six, a marvel of engineering excess. Each cylinder breathed through its own carburetor, feeding a tightly packed combustion chamber with pencil eraser-sized valves. The crankshaft, assembled from 7 roller bearings and 3 different crankpin diameters, spun with almost no friction, with barely any flywheel to slow its rise. There was no margin for error. Over-revving could shatter the engine, and the gearbox demanded constant attention to stay on the cam. Yet the payoff was staggering. 60 horsepower from a quarter-liter, a red line most cars would not reach decades later, and a dry weight under 112 kilograms. In 1966, Halewood and the RC1X6 swept nearly every race in the 250 cubic centimeter World Championship. Their dominance was not just a matter of speed, but of harmony between man and machine. Halewood's feel for the bike's limits, his ability to coax every last revolution out of the engine without stepping over the edge, turned the RC1X6 into a weapon no one else could match. For a brief moment, Japanese engineering had outpaced the world, and the racetrack echoed with the sound of 6 cylinders, singing in unison. In 1968, the Grand Prix paddocks buzzed with rumors and frustration. The FIM, motorcycle racing's governing body, convened in Geneva and announced strict new limits. No more than 4 cylinders in the 350 cubic centimeter and 500 cubic centimeter classes. Just 2 cylinders in the 125 cubic centimeter and 250 cubic centimeter classes, and a single cylinder for the 50 cubic centimeter machines. Gearboxes, once a playground for factory engineers, with 8 speeds, even 10 speeds to keep engines in their narrow power bands, were now capped at 6 ratios. The official reasoning was simple: rein in spiraling costs and give privateers a fighting chance. But for the Japanese factories, especially Honda and Suzuki, the rules landed like a hammer. Their most advanced projects, 5-cylinder 125 cubic centimeter machines, 6-cylinder 250 cubic centimeter machines, even a 3-cylinder 50 cubic centimeter machine, became obsolete overnight. Years of research and countless hours in the dyno room were swept aside by a few lines in the rulebook. Behind closed doors, European manufacturers had lobbied hard, arguing that the Japanese arms race threatened to bankrupt the sport. MV Agusta, still running 3-cylinder machines that fit neatly under the new cap, stood to benefit most. The timing was no accident. With Honda's 6-cylinder machines dominating the podium and Suzuki's 2-stroke engines growing ever more complex, European voices in the FIM grew louder, pushing for a return to simpler, more affordable racing. Official statements spoke of fairness and sustainability, but in the paddock many saw the new rules as a shield for the old guard. Honda, unwilling to compromise its engineering philosophy, withdrew from Grand Prix racing at the end of 1967. Suzuki followed, shelving its most ambitious designs. Yamaha, with its focus on twin and 4-cylinder machines, adapted and pressed on, but the era of unlimited innovation was over. The Japanese Grand Prix itself vanished from the calendar for nearly 2 decades. The clampdown brought the first chapter of Japanese multi-cylinder excess to a close, forcing manufacturers to rethink how and where they would chase the next breakthrough. In 1985, Suzuki's GSX R750 rolled out of the factory and onto the street, carrying the DNA of an endurance racer, but built for everyday riders. Its aluminum frame slashed weight, while the oil-cooled 4-cylinder engine delivered high revs and sharp throttle response. At just over 176 kilograms dry, the GSX R750 weighed less than most of its rivals, echoing the stripped-down machines seen at Suzuka. This wasn't a softened version of a race bike. It was the real thing, homologated for the road. 13 years later, Yamaha's YZF R1 upended the litter bike class with a compact engine and a stacked gearbox. By shortening the engine, Yamaha could stretch the swing arm and tighten the wheelbase, making the R1 both stable and razor-sharp in corners. The result was a bike that felt like a 600, but hit with the force of 1,000. Engineers in Hamamatsu and Iwata had quietly rewritten the rules again. During the decade from 2010 to 2019, Kawasaki's approach to racing turned every lap into a lesson. The ZX-10R, already a proven superbike, became a platform for relentless electronic refinement. Engineers fitted the bike with a 6-axis inertial measurement unit, letting the onboard computer read lean angle, pitch, and yaw in real time. On the World Superbike grid, Jonathan Rie's crew downloaded dozens of data channels after every session, including throttle position, brake pressure, suspension movement, and wheel speeds, all mapped against the inertial measurement unit feedback. Every run in practice fed the next, as traction control and engine brake strategies were tweaked to match Rie's style and each circuit's demands. From 2015 to 2020, this data-driven loop powered Rie to 6 consecutive World Superbike titles. Meanwhile, Japanese superbikes started to wear their wind tunnel hours on their sleeves. Kawasaki's 2021 ZX-10R arrived with internal fairing winglets, generating measurable downforce at speed. The modern race was not just about horsepower, it was about software, sensors, and the ability to adapt faster than anyone else. Japanese innovation still drives the pace of global racing, pushing boundaries in electronics, data, and performance. As manufacturers compete on both track and street, every new breakthrough challenges what is possible. The race never really ends. It just keeps getting faster. What machine would you want to ride next?